Welcome back, Square Circle Podcast, and we're going to have a politically correct interview today. He's a father, a husband, a boxer, pub owner, and an over 30s guru event host. Please welcome today on Square Circle Podcast, Mr. Adam Brooks. Adam, how are you, mate?
I'm good, mate. Good to see you. Thanks for having me.
Yes, we are obviously here to illustrate boxing, so we're going to start with that before we go anywhere else. So,
Brilliant.
You came to us 2 years ago.
About 3 years ago.
Was it 3 years ago?
3 years ago with my son, yeah.
Oh, yeah, for Artie, but
Yeah.
you started
Yeah.
going about 2 years ago. Boxing's been in your life from a very, very young age. Do you want to talk about that part first?
Yeah, look, I was never allowed to box when I was young. My dad in the 60s was Fitzroy Lodge captain, had hundreds of fights. He fought for England, for Britain, ABA finalist, should have gone to Tokyo Olympics, had to fight 3 times in one day. Knocked the fella down, I think it was something like 8 times, and somehow lost on points. That's what boxing was like back then. So I've always been fascinated. Obviously, I lost my father at 11. So I've always wanted to do boxing. And then growing up watching Tyson, Lennox Lewis, it's always been in my heart to try and do. But I was never allowed. Then when I was about 20, I was getting in quite a lot of trouble. I was an angry teenager, Marc, for that reason. And drink, I wasn't a drug taker, but drinks sent me over the edge a lot of the time. I'd be fighting in pubs and clubs. So a friend of my dad's took me down a boxing gym. I was there literally 3 months and they threw me in one of these IBA fights, Alan Mortlock. Got a lot of time for Alan, but I was thrown in against a guy that had something like 30 amateur fights. I got a draw on the night. It weren't a draw. I lost it. I'll admit that. And then I fought another time against, again, another ex-amateur. Lost that. And I thought, what am I doing? This ain't for me, you know? I'm not good. Never touched a boxing bag, really, for 20-odd years. And then, as you say, I brought Artie down about 3 or 4 years ago, trying to get him into boxing. And it ended up with you and Sim and that getting me in there sparring. And it was like months and months of getting battered by anyone that doesn't come Denison Dyer. There was a guy called David that was about 100 kilos. And then there was Ron. You'd stick me in with Ron, who's had God knows how many fights. And literally week in, week out, it was me getting battered. I can have a fight. Like people that know me out on the street, I've had so many fights. Nothing to be proud of, but being an angry teenager, an angry 20-something, being in nightclubs and bars all my life, I've had a lot of fights and I'm good at fighting. But boxing, not so. And I found out the hard way, you know, but over the last 2 years, you've seen my progression. I think I'm proud the way that I can now box. I'm not a world beater, but I'm boxing on Misfits, holding my own against some of your youngsters, inspiring and that.
Yeah, definitely.
I love it. Keeps me sane.
Good. So we had that training, and then there was a whole lead up before the Misfits with Bash. Talk to us about your thought process in actually, doing that fight initially.
Right. So, look, I spoke to Mams for about the last 3 years. Mams Taylor is one of the owners of Misfits. Artie wanted me to get on Misfits. I took him there once. He's like, Dad, you've got a big social media following. Get on there. And I don't think they'll have me, but we try. Message Mams. He said, show me what you've got. So I thought the easiest way is try and fight someone that everyone thinks is going to smash me to bits. And then I come across this Bash on Instagram. An unlicensed fighter, a no-rules fighter. I looked him up. He'd been in the Daily Mail for biting someone's ear off. I think he was a former Taekwondo ranked fighter, champion. And I remember I come in here and I spoke to Liam and Sim, your brother, and I went, I'm going to fight this guy. And Liam stepped back and went, oh. And your brother was like, no, okay, we'll look into it. And I knew it was going to go either way. Either I was going to get knocked out or I was going to knock him out because I know I can fight. So we set up. I did it for charity. Young girl Isla that I was introduced to years ago, that she was dying of cancer. I raised a lot of money for her to get her last wishes. And then I raised on this fight a lot of money. It was like about 60 grand, I think, for the research into the specific brain cancer. So I had had a lot of drive to go through with this and for that fight. And York Hall, my dad had fought there countless times. It was a dream of mine to fight at York Hall. So that night was an emotional roller coaster. And coming out of the dressing room, the nerves, look, I had serious nerves, but I wanted to get out there. My son, Artie, was walking out with me, and I said to him, look, don't worry, if I get knocked out, just go and sit with mum. I'll be fine. I'll wake up like in a minute. That's the thought process.
You said that before you walked out?
Yeah, because I knew the way it was going to go, because we'd heard that in the change room he was saying he was going to nut me, he was going to do this. I knew it was going to turn nasty. And obviously I come out to Sky Full of Stars, one of my favourite songs.
Amazing room walk, by the
right,
way.
And I will live with that for my whole life. For anyone that hasn't seen that, they turned all the lights off in the arena, and I had like a pre-recorded thing before the song started saying, please put the lights on your phone. This is for Isla. And literally, I was walking out, I've got the video, to Sky Full of Stars, bawling my eyes out just before a fight, crying my eyes out. And there was a little bit of that as well, because my dad, I knew he'd boxed there, so there was a lot to come out.
A lot of emotion, yeah.
And then we get into the ring, and the ref brings us together, and Bash leans into my head and says, I'm going to bite you.
Is that what you said?
Yeah. And the ref heard it, and the red mist come over me. I tried to nut him. I think I just caught the top of his forehead. That video, by the way, went viral on TikTok. It's had about 4 million views. me nutting him. But Jimmy, the ref, really nice guy, ex-boxer as well, he said he should have called that off. But because of the charity and a lot of the money that was being raised and why we was there, he let it go. And obviously the fight was dirty. It lasted about a minute and a half. And after that was him he was trying to bite me, he was trying to nut me, like as we're in clinches. And then he walked straight onto a right hand, which, you know, I lived off that for a while. That knockout, I slowed it down, put it to music. And Mams Taylor messaged me the next day, Misfits, and went, oh my God, you have arrived, or something like that. That video's gone everywhere. And he said, I'll get you on. And then, so that was September 23. I fought Rhino in November at York Hall again on Misfits. So Rhino, a bit older than me, he was about 8 years older than me. He's a former gladiator, mate, and he had muscles on muscles.
Is he still quite ripped then? Is he still, yeah?
Yeah. And he, obviously, through bodybuilding, he was a master of getting the weight off and that. And so when I see him during the weigh-in, I didn't think he was that big. When I got in the ring and see him, I was like, Jesus Christ. In a day, I reckon he put on 2 stone. He was just massive.
Wow.
And look, I was losing that fight. First round, he was all over me, really. I got a few good shots in, but his power, he was just bullying me. I took, just before the first bell, I took a flurry of about 5 clean shots, which shows I can take a dig as well. But the bell, probably, if that bell hadn't come within 20 seconds, I was in trouble. Then I come out, and I just, your brother, he showed me a picture of me dad. I always, in my fights, your brother always has my picture of me dad, and he showed me it in the corner, and I thought, it's do or die. I was tiring out. I'd been caught a lot. And he walked straight onto an uppercut. Yeah. And again, suddenly I've got 2 knockout reels that went everywhere. Like Misfits put that knockout out. I think that had something like 6 or 7 million views. So look, I'm 45. I'm not the best boxer. I'm game as a Beagle. So they put me against King Kenny, who a lot of kids are watching this in boxing, Beta Squad, millions of followers, 17 years younger than me. He'd had 8 fights in professional rules like Misfits or whatever, under the lights. I thought I could get him. I thought I could maybe catch him with a big one and put him in trouble, but he just completely outboxed me. I didn't listen to your brother's instructions in the corner, but you know, sometimes in your early fights, you try and do your own thing, didn't you? You lose your head. Yeah. He just schooled me. And I got a lot of stick from that online, even though I think it was quite of a brave fight for me to take. I'm not happy the way I boxed. I lost, but that's boxing. I've gone on 1-2 since. Gavinio on Misfits, stopped him. And then at a charity ball, I went the distance with a very experienced guy, journeyman that had 100 fights. Said to me that I hurt him a few times. So I took a lot of positives from that. So at the minute, in my 40s, I'm 4-1.
That's good.
You know?
And who's like? I know you're obviously very good on social media.
Yeah.
You always say anyone, anytime. But is there anyone that's realistic at this point? Not you trying to show you've got balls. We know you've got balls.
Yeah.
But is there anyone right now that you think that's a realistic one that I could be competitive with? Give me that one, and I'm all over it.
There's a few guys on Misfits that, again, I hope that they're still thinking of me for their future shows. But you got Pineda, who is the ex-pro that got beat by KSI, and he's like their sort of entertainer sort of thing.
Yeah.
He's a Mexican.
Was he the special guest on one show or something?
He was, yeah. He knocked Ed Matthews out the ring.
Yeah.
He can box. He's about 6'1", but I like fighting taller fighters because I'm aggressive. How I come in, I think I could catch him. He's one that I would like. There's a few on there. Ed Matthews don't want to fight me. He keeps telling people I'm too old, but people that know both of us tell me he don't fancy it.
Okay.
Look,
is there much kickback from Pineda? Is there much?
No, I mean, look, it would be for Misfits. He would fight me. It'd be for Misfits just to make it right. Obviously, it costs a lot for them to fly him and his team over, so it has to be a commercially right fight.
Would you go to Mexico?
I'd fight anywhere for Misfits. I love Misfits. Where I sort of come into Misfits for my son, taking him to see KSI. It's become like a bit of a family now. I've fought on there 3 times. I like the security, the Wasserman staff, the Misfits staff. That week is like a real experience.
Yeah.
And look, I've now got, even if I've only got 1 or 2 fights left in me, it's something I can turn around and say I've done.
Yeah.
And no one can take it away from me.
Yeah.
As you say, I wasn't an experienced boxer. I wasn't a talented boxer. Still not. But I will get in there with anyone they want. There's a guy, B. Dave from America. That would be a good tear up. There's quite a few on there.
Yeah.
So I was meant to fight in August. The money weren't right, if I'm honest, and it was at short notice. I had holidays, and that was against Amadeus Ferrari.
Okay.
That's the MMA guy from Poland. Like, listen, he is aggressive. He just tries to take your head off. And I thought, I cannot, on 4 weeks' notice, go in there with a holiday in between at 45 and risk that, So I said no. He ended up getting beat by a Scottish Pakistani guy. Comes out with a Pakistani flag, Padisi or something his name is.
Okay.
I follow him on Instagram, so I should know his name. He beat him. So I've said to Mams, that'll be a great one.
Yeah.
Because, look, with politics and all that, you know what people are going to say. Me against a guy that embraces his Pakistani heritage. You know what these idiots are going to say and they're going to build it up with.
Yeah.
But for me, it would almost be like, in Rocky, with a Russian sort of thing. Like afterwards, whoever wins, mate, I don't see colour in anyone. I don't care.
Yeah.
Whatever people think of me when it comes to my politics or my views on immigration, mate, it doesn't bother me. White, black, or brown.
So on that then, question for you then.
Yeah.
What would you say to the people that think you're a fascist or a racist?
I think they're idiots. I think they need to educate themselves. Look at my friendship group, Jesus Christ. A fascist with loads of black and brown friends, that's a bit stupid thing to say. I'm not religious. I'm like, if you're a Christian or whatever, you've got your views. If you're a Muslim, you've got your views. I fully respect people's right to have their views and their religion. And I will never coat anyone's religion either or demean it. But I'm not religious, so I don't understand it. No disrespect, I don't want to understand it. You do your thing, I'll do mine. But
any reason you're not religious in any way?
Because of what happened to me, Dad.
Okay. In terms of if you were to believe in something, why would they do something like that?
My dad was murdered when I was 11 by very bad people. Growing up, seeing kids that have had cancer and terrible things happening to kids. For me, it's my opinion that if there was a God, that they would never allow that to happen to children. Children are like the future. they're beautiful things. You know what I mean? I can't see how anyone could hurt kids. So for me, I've always, even at school, I took myself out of RE lessons because I didn't want to hear it. So I've got no interest in religion. But going back to this fascist thing, look, my views, and I hope this comes across okay on the camera, is that we can't just let anyone into this country. Because at the end of the day, I think we've had about 4 or 5 million people come into this country in the last 5 years alone. Services are collapsing, NHS, schools, can't get a school place, can't get a doctor's appointment. Services are very fractured in this country because there's too many people. And it doesn't matter if they're white, black or brown, you can't take that away. And illegal immigration, people coming over on the boats, we have no idea who they are, Mark. We've seen terrorists come over on these boats, rapists, murderers, paedophiles. And for people to say, oh yeah, that's okay, that just means that's not affecting them at that time. Now, being for strong borders and being against illegal and mass immigration doesn't make you racist. As I said before, don't care what colour they are. I'm a protester at Epping, the Bell Hotel. I'm going there after here. I don't care if they're white, black or brown in there. If they were Ukrainians or Bulgarians, I'd still be outside because we've had a 14-year-old girl sexually abused in Epping in her school uniform. We've had another woman sexually abused. We've had assaults emanating from that hotel, arson, shoplifting. I've had a woman that works for me. She's got a convertible car. They tried to get in her car when she was driving through Epping. We've had flashing, intimidation. You can't make that right. And it just so happens that the people in the Bell Hotel are black and brown. So be it. I'm there protesting the fact that we do not know the histories of these men. We've had speculation online where you've had a lot of them use Snapchat. I don't know why they use Snapchat. I'm not on that. But people going through the past pictures of people in that hotel Snapchat. We've seen guns. We've seen, some horrific pictures. And there are migrants in that hotel that try and pressure the schoolgirls for their Snapchats. It's a thing. Many parents have come to me and said that. There's a school 200 metres from that hotel. Again, it's not right, mate. And there's no racism there.
No, it's not right in terms of what they're doing, but it's not them though, is it?
Well,
in terms of
it's their behaviour, mate.
But someone's bringing them over here.
Yeah, exactly that. And that's why...
And if you was in a position where your life is, shit, and you find out
100%.
if I go over there, I'll get a free place to live. So, yes, it's wrong, but...
It's the system. So, look...
So who is at fault for that?
So I protest against our government as well. At the end of the day, they could stop these boats coming over. Stop, as you say, the draw that brings them over is...
Are they not in breach of some form of Human Rights Act if they refuse them, though, as a country? We're in some breach, aren't we?
There's the Refugee Act. But look, at the end of the day, this is a national emergency. Up and down the country, we are seeing murders. There's a case I can't speak about really because it's this month, but there's a case where a hotel worker was murdered. We've seen the paedophiles and the rapists, and it is happening up and down the country. For me, that's a national emergency. Again, it doesn't matter if you're black.
Is there more happening than what we know then? Is that what you're saying?
There's a lot. There's a lot of it's being covered up. So when we try and, you've seen in the papers, and I put them on my Instagram all the time, we try and deport a foreign rapist, let's say. So a lefty lawyer then takes it to the ECHR, which is a court that we're all a part of for human rights. And they say, we can't deport him back to Iran because if he goes back to Iran, he might face danger there or the people might be against him. Well, what about the human rights of the woman that he raped or the kid that was touched up by that Algerian man or Afghanistan man? What you've got to remember is a lot of the people that are coming here, they are coming here for free stuff. And as you said, if I was in a village in Somalia and someone said, come with me, all your life savings, couple of grand or whatever they've got, I'll put you on a boat, you will get a hotel room, fed 3 times a day, you don't even have to speak English. They basically give you benefits for the rest of your life, won't make you work. What would you do? I would come over. But then what happens is once they're here 5 years, they can bring 3 or 4 family members over. So
Is this a law? Is it? Is this a
well,
law?
yeah. So
Okay.
you're under the ECHR and the rules. You're allowed to bring your family over for your human rights. So at the end of the day, we could have, let's just say, I think 150,000 have come over since 2020. In the next 5 years, you can multiply that by 5. That's without any more that are coming over. So we could end up in the next 6 or 7 years with 1 million people that basically don't want to work, don't want to speak English.
Where's this growth come from, though, Adam? These numbers sound massive, but
Well,
what,
yeah.
what about the last 20 years? So do we have any stat for, say, pre-2000 and after
No,
2000?
it wasn't really. I mean, this global refugee sort of, I call them refugees. A lot of them are just economic migrants. So when they go on these news channels and say, "Oh, we've got to let them in because they're fleeing war," come on, you know, we had tens of thousands from Albania coming over. I mean, we've done a thing now with Albania. There's no war in Albania. There's no war in Pakistan. So let's be truthful now. And this is what a lot of these lefty activists that have these ready-made signs that are funded by this dark money that turn up and protest and say, refugees welcome here. Sorry, a large percentage of them are not refugees. And I would rather, look, I'm not a monster. If we could help women and children from war zones, stop all this, deport all the ones that shouldn't be here, and start helping actually genuine women and children that are in danger in their home countries. Don't care if they're white, black or brown. Get them here and let us help them. Because anyone with compassion, any Brit that is a true Brit would think, you know what, it is our duty to try and help women and children. But not these men that are coming here to game the system. But since 2019, really, it happened really 2016 actually onwards. You see it in Germany. They've had millions of these people flood into their country because Merkel opened up their borders. And look, there is a link to mass immigration and crime, Mark.
Yeah.
It like you cannot deny it's not racist to say it. Gang rape in Germany has gone through the roof in the last 7 or 8 years. There's no coincidence. There's certain cultural differences. Let's just say you bring a guy comes over from a village in the mountains of Afghanistan. He's never seen really a woman that hasn't been covered up. Suddenly you're putting him in a hotel and you are seeing very attractive, and I'll say this in the right way, young girls that are 15, but in that country, that's not seen as a bad thing to say or look at, with skirts up here, blonde hair. They cannot control themselves. They cannot. And it's not a racist thing to say. That's a cultural difference from a remote place in countries where they have never seen good-looking young girls. They can't control themselves, Mark. And that is the danger, where you are just bringing in people that are culturally different, so different, and expecting
Your reasonings
our
are
life.
on point.
Yeah.
The reasoning. What I'm here to try and get your point across, because wherever you go at the minute is you're debating on something specific, and you haven't had, really, in my opinion, the chance to actually speak freely like this. Do you think with what you do, and I'll give you a key example before I say it, is I had a kid that's on an alternative learning provision here that didn't come in because Adam Brooks said not to go to school that day. Before I finish, do you think you're going to have in an involuntary way, create hate unintentionally on these people? Because your point's right, but sometimes it can get screwed and people just think, oh, fuck them, you know, and there's enough videos out there that I'm sure you're aware of that come across very, very hateful.
And I call that hate, Mark, right? Apparently there was a mosque that was attempted arson outside a mosque yesterday. If you look at my Instagram stories, I said, this is disgusting. We must call out hate from all sides. If you actually listen to what I say on a regular basis, some people might be able to say, oh, it's against immigration, and twist my narrative. You can't do that with me, because when you said a kid didn't come in here because Adam Brooks said, don't go to school that day, I didn't tell anyone to stay off school. I said, I'm keeping my kids off of school.
But you're in a position of power now, Adam.
Now, so let's explain the story. why I said I'm keeping my kids off of school that day. We had a homeless asylum seeker spotted outside 8 local schools, all in different areas. You don't just walk past these schools. I've got photo evidence outside all of them, videos where parents have sent me. He was found on the grounds of Davenant School on the on the Wednesday. We then find out on the Wednesday that he was removed, or he was asked to leave from Alderton School on the Tuesday. So on the Thursday, he was spotted outside of Leverton School in Waltham Abbey. The head teacher locked down the school. Kids had to go under the desks. Black blinds come down at the windows and the doors. An emergency measure. Now, there's people on the left that go, he was just hungry. He was looking for food.
Is this the guy that got beaten up?
I think he might have got a whack from someone. But at the end of the day, you cannot tell me that if you're hungry and a homeless asylum seeker, you go scouting out schools in the local area. 8 schools he was outside. So 2 of the 8 schools, my 2 daughters go. Now, I'm a parent that is so protective, like any parent should be, especially my daughters. You know, I would not fail them. So until we knew the actual motive of this guy, I kept him off of school for one day. I sent him in on the Friday. So I did a video to show what was happening, because the Essex police then put out the most misleading and factually incorrect statement that they could have done. They said a lot of misinformation online. There was only one incident involving this man. No. He was removed. Well, he was on 2 school grounds. But when Essex police say incident, they mean crime. It's not a crime that he was on the school grounds, but it's concerning to us all as parents. Mm-hmm. He was on 2 school grounds and he was outside 6 others. I'm sorry, anyone wants to twist that as being racist or overly worried parent. I gave that information out. I've actually had 2 head teachers from local schools to say everything that I've said was factually true. And because some parents have complained about me at my little girl's school. And they've complained about me because Essex police have said there was one incident. So these parents did not know that he was outside 8 schools or in the close vicinity. So this is where misinformation and disinformation can be skewed, and people can go, oh, Adam was wrong there because the police said that. I've got emails from the schools and photos and videos putting him in or around 8 schools, and that's a fact. And GB News run it for me. Obviously, I'm on GB News. And 2 head teachers have confirmed that everything I've said was correct.
So let me play devil's advocate here for a second, yeah? We're going against, we're guessing an asylum seeker, an immigrant of some kind. Do you reckon he's got a smartphone? There's a reason why I'm asking this. Do you reckon he's got a smartphone on him?
A lot of them seem to. I don't know. A lot of charities give them clothes. A lot of charities can fund them with phones.
I'm just trying to think of, I'm not going to dive into conspiracies or people pushing things to happen, but doesn't know the area, not from this country, but finds himself into schools. I mean, how the hell does he know where he's going?
You tell me. So this is another thing. There's a lot of unanswered questions, Mark.
But how does he know where to go?
Exactly.
Like, if you don't speak English, has someone got in a van, said, right, I'm going to put you there. I don't want to go off on a tangent here, but it feels like some things are being put in place which are wrong.
Yeah.
He doesn't know anything anyway. Do you want to stay in his hotel still tonight? Okay, you need to stand outside this school for the next hour.
Listen, there can be people manipulating anger.
Yeah, that can create this. Yeah. Now, you're outspoken, which is fine. There are other parents that are like worried about that sort of thing happening, which sort of lead on to, is this scaremongering for the government to get us to do what they want to do?
Look, so I've been on dozens of protests in my life. If I believe in something, I stand up, right? And I will not stop a lot of the time. The democratic right for us to protest, whether I agree with what you're protesting for or I don't, is a fundamental right. But what we've seen is, I call it 2-tier Britain and 2-tier Keir Starmer. So basically, after the Unite the Kingdom march, where there was anything from a few 100,000 maybe to 1 million people in London, there was 20 arrests. The next day, we see the Prime Minister calling out those arrests. We see the police calling out those arrests and apparently far right and its violence. Yet on Thursday and Friday, after a terrorist attack at a synagogue where innocent Jewish people have been slaughtered by a terrorist, there were flash protests with Jew hate, with violence against police, with signs that was anti-Jews. And we have not heard one thing from Sadiq Khan, from Keir Starmer, or our police calling out that violence and that hate. So this country...
What's your thinking behind that?
Well, it's to set a narrative, or they're scared to call out so-called people on their side because they don't want to lose votes. But the hypocrisy is clear. Now, again, as I've said, I've put a thing on my Instagram today because of that alleged attack on a mosque. Disgusting, hateful. Why aren't people on the left calling out these people that are covering their faces, attacking police, calling for Jews to be exterminated? That's hate, and that's terrible hate. And it's not being called out by a lot in our media, a lot of our politicians. All I want is people to get along. Like, all I want is safe communities, people to get on, our services to work. We're paying more tax than we have ever, right? But things are getting worse. Our police can't arrest people because they might be called racist or, oh, that was a bit heavy-handed. Yet we've got knife crime going through the roof. I'm a knife crime activist. You know, a lot of the fights that we've spoke about, I try and spread the message to the white, black and brown communities that we've got to stop carrying knives. Do I sound like a terrible person that wants to stop knife crime, wants safe streets, wants everyone to love each other? You know, am I a bad person, or am I just a convenient target for people to go, oh, Adam's anti-immigration. Adam's, look, he protests at the Bell Hotel. He must hate immigrants. Couldn't be further from the truth, Mark, you know?
I think, okay, what would you say to this? You've got to stand that point, and I really hope people get your side of the story and understand your side. But how do you feel about someone thinking that, hey, he says this, but then shakes the hands of Tommy Robertson on stage?
Yeah, look, I can understand that. There's much of what Tommy says that is right, and that a lot of politicians, a lot of people that are black and brown agree with. There's other things he said that I don't agree with. As I've said now, I wouldn't target anyone for their religion.
But do you understand by shaking his hand, it's almost like an acceptance of, I'm with you, mate.
No, I was brought up on that stage and I wasn't prepared for that. But I was there for my children. Yeah? So at the end of the day, I didn't ask to go on that stage. If you see, he's going, come on, come on. I didn't ask to be up there. I was just about to interview someone backstage, a politician.
Okay.
But I was there because I am scared the way this country is going for my kids. And I was there to protest our government, which a lot of people there were there for that as well.
What's your answer, Adam? What's your answer?
Well, they can do it. I would shake a hand of a politician, a lefty politician, that I do not.
No, what's your answer to what we can do? What's your answer?
Right, well, look.
Blank canvas, what do you do, Mr. Brooks?
On immigration, we need to declare a national emergency. We need to say that we need to stop the draw for people to come over here. So we need to say, look, if you come over here illegally now, that we have no room. We're running out of hotels. We can't put you in housing, our own homeless.
You're obviously very knowledgeable about a lot of stuff, Adam. So is there a criteria or a threshold we need to meet to have a national emergency? And what is that?
No, I mean, our government can call a national emergency and say, and say, look, we've had these crimes. It's causing hate in our communities and like that. It is a national security risk. Anyone that comes over now is getting deported straight away. But what happens, Mark, is they dump their IDs for a reason. A lot of the people might come over and say, I'm from Afghanistan. They're not. They might be from a neighbouring country that's not declared as dangerous as Afghanistan. Or in Africa, say we're from Eritrea, where they're from the country next door that hasn't got like the problems Eritrea have got. So where do you deport them from? They're being given legal advice by charities and these NGOs that means it's almost impossible to deport these people. So we're in like a death spiral of people know their rights before they get here because Care for Calais or these charities are telling them basically how to play our system. So what happens? And I'll spin this on you now. Let's just say you think, oh, Adam, we can't stop them coming over. We can't. What happens if we keep getting hundreds of thousands per year coming over? Where do they get put? We're running out of hotels. We haven't got enough social housing for our own Brits, let alone people coming from abroad. What happens? We're going to have tents like certain parts of France. You're going to see streets with hundreds of tents with people in. You're going to see people getting mugged down those streets. The crime is going to go out of control. So we need to declare this national emergency. We need to stop legal immigration as well, or cap it. Say, right, look, if I want to go to Spain, Mark, so if I want to go to Spain, they're going to ask me, what are you going to do for a living when you get here? I'm going to have to go through certain criteria. Okay, I've got a property in Spain, lovely. If suddenly I lost everything in Spain and I couldn't work, I couldn't get a job, I couldn't pay my bills, what do you think Spain are going to do to me? They're going to deport me straight away. What would America do? They would deport me straight away. That's not racist. It's nothing to do with the colour of my skin or my religion. We've got to start doing that here because we have people on benefits, 1.3 million foreign-born on universal credit. Comes to £1 billion a month that we are spending out of our taxes on people that were not born here, that are not working or cannot fund themselves. Those people need to go home, Mark. They're legal migrants. And again, don't matter what colour they are becoming a net drain on this country. So we pay our taxes. At the moment, we're funding a lot of foreigners to live off our state, yet we can't get a doctor's appointment. So you've got to look at it that way. And a lot of people do not understand that.
Listen, this is what these points are for. But people, I'm staying impartial. People are out there giving strong historic facts that this country was built on immigration.
Right.
And without that history of hundreds of years, we wouldn't be who we are. So they're saying, some people are saying, okay, but there's illegal immigration, which is one thing.
That's the truth, and I'll tell you about it.
And migrant and legal migrants.
Yeah.
If we were to get rid of those,
right,
how would Great Britain look?
We're not. I'm certainly not asking to get rid of those. So up until I think it was 2000 and whatever, early 2000s, we was running at say 40 or 50,000 immigrants a year would come into this country. Fantastic. Help our NHS, help our hospitality industry that I'm in, help build this country, builders, right, of all colours and creeds. A steady, managed immigration policy. Yet in the last 7 or 8 years, it's coming to hundreds of thousands a year. And as I've just said, over the last 5 years or so, we've had about 4 million come into this country. So 4 million extra people have come into this country. Many are not working. Many have not fit the criteria. Many have got in on student visas, on work visas, low-skilled work visas that are now not working. So what happens now when we get to 2030 and we've got another 5 million? Where do they go? So no one, especially me, especially when you look at my friendship group, are going to turn around and say immigration is bad. Controlled immigration was good for this country and helped build this country. You know?
Would you leave?
What, this country? I've got 3 kids. If the streets get much more dangerous or it gets much more hateful in this country, I think as a responsible parent, if I could afford to leave, I probably should for a while to keep my kids safe. I don't want to. It's my home. I don't know what I would do for a living abroad either. But I know many people that are moving to Portugal, moving to Dubai. You know, Jewish friends of mine moved to Dubai for safety for their kids. What does that say? They're moving to the Middle East to have a safer life for their kids. How have we got here, Mark? You know? I just think we need to have a look round and think, look, we look at some of these protests up London and we've got people in balaclavas, like masked up, shouting hate. Yet people don't call that out.
No, I agree.
Yet I'm standing with a sign that says, save our kids, outside a hotel where there's been sexual assaults, and I'm the boogeyman. I'm the bad man. Why? Where's this messed up thinking come from, Mark? At the end of the day, for me, and I call it out, there was people with their faces covered at Epping in the summer. I went up to them and said, get the mask off. What are you doing? If you can't show your face and show your beliefs of why you're there, why would you protest? Again, I urge people on my social media to have if you've got this predetermined view of me, is to look what I actually say. Look what I say in my interviews.
But I think again, Adam, people, remember, without sounding rude, there's educated and uneducated people. Uneducated people will take what they want to take from it and not necessarily spin it, but like, well, Adam Brooks said not to go to school today, so I kept my child off. You didn't say that. No. But that whole mid of I've kept my child off, they hear of, I should keep my child off today then. And that's, unfortunately, Mr. Brooks, you have to be very, very careful of what you say when you say, because even when you're saying something black and white, it's still getting, like, the kid didn't turn up here.
But when it comes to child safety, I'll never shut up.
I agree. Child,
and
kids, important.
I'm a parent of 3 wonderful kids, but 2 daughters that I must protect at all costs. And you cannot tell me that a strange foreign man that can't speak English outside 8 schools is not a danger. So at the end of the day, I wanted other people to know, look, this is how I'm treating it. This isn't right.
Very dangerous, but I'm very skeptical about how that individual got to these schools.
Yeah, look.
You know? And also, you as a person, stand-up guy like yourself, I do think there has to be a little bit more pressure put on these schools and other adults around. I mean, I'm not being funny. If I saw a man standing outside of school and I was there, I'd be confronting him.
Yeah.
And that's not happening. Whether it's people are scared, you know, weak men, strong men, that whole cycle of what we've got generational-wise. Yeah. Some people maybe, I mean, you're saying parents sent you videos. What have the parents actually done? Yeah. They've got the videos, but what have they actually done? They care about kids as a whole, the way they say they do.
We've also got to be very careful because that could be sounding like, you know, we're advocating vigilante groups. I've had many parents, men, say, oh, look, let's all stand outside this school today. I go, why? What are you going to do today? You're going to look like and you're going to get labelled as some sort of extremist. I said, you haven't got a DBS check. You haven't got a security badge. Do not start standing outside of schools because then that creates worry as well for children, right? So people have got to start sort of thinking a little bit clearer as well.
Should the schools do more then?
I think the government needs to do more. One thing that I was really annoyed on that day is that you will see, I'll go to Epping later and there will be meat wagons full of police. Yet on a day when there was a lot of scared people, to put 2 police officers outside 8 schools, 16 officers, right? Why was that not happen?
It's so mad you say that.
The head teacher was on the front door of Leverton School. She's a woman. There were 2 women there. And I went up, I said, I'm not filming. I would never film outside schools, ever. And that was a lie that people said I was filming outside of schools. I would never do that. And I went, are you okay? She went, and she recognised me. She went, yeah, we're on lockdown. I went, okay, I'm going to sit in the car for a bit. Where are the police? She went, they're not here. You got a school on lockdown. Why is there not 2 police officers outside the front? We pay our taxes. We want our kids safe. I don't care what the thinking is. It wouldn't have been hard to ease people's fears that day and put 2 officers on the front of each school. Because if there was a problem or there were people looking and thinking, oh, could we target this school? Suddenly they think, no, the police are there now. That was a strong message to send and one that would have calmed any fear in this community. And they didn't do it. Yet tonight I'm going to go to Epping in about half an hour. There'll be about 30 police there. All for a lot of mums, nans and people like me standing there with a board that says save our kids. Make it make sense, Mark.
It's interesting and I'm sure we could talk for hours, but I think, you know, I think you've done an amazing job in raising the awareness. I just think, for me, knowing you and knowing who you are, I think you've got to just be very, very careful of how you say things because the idiots will take it and just flip it, which is not you can't control that.
I can't control it, but again, that's almost sort of saying I've got to be silenced in a sort of way, which
I hear you.
Mate, I don't care what anyone says. If I believe in something, I'll say it. And look, there will be extreme people that say Adam Brooks is sticking up for Muslims today because that's disgusting what's happened to that mosque. As I will state, I don't want anything to do with far right extremism. I don't want anything to do with far left extremism. I just want safe communities. I want people to be able to go to their mosque, their synagogue, their church without being hounded. I want safe streets for our kids. I want our taxes to be used the right way, so we're actually getting the services that we deserve. Our homeless, why not take these hotels back and start putting our actual homeless in there? I'd support that, wouldn't you?
Okay.
Let's say our own homeless and
Yes,
veterans.
I think veterans, that's a different, I think that's something that needs to be looked at, as we all know. But I think there are a lot of people that take the piss in this country regardless. I think we have to agree with that, right? So these people, I think the angle they're using is they're coming from war-drawn, war-ridden countries. And if that is the case, it's horrible, okay? Yeah. But we all know that's not the full picture.
Exactly.
All we need to find out, or what you need to find out on your quest, Adam, is little things like Poland, okay? We don't know the full outs, but apparently it's like zero crime rate there.
Well, it's not zero crime, but there's sex crime rates there are some of the lowest in Europe, and they haven't allowed mass immigration into that country.
So who's allowed mass immigration there? Who's allowed it?
Who's allowed it? Well, it first started under Tony Blair and Gordon Brown, opened up our borders. And then the Conservatives basically said every year they was in power that they wanted to control immigration and just let more and more and more in. We were being gaslighted and lied to for 20 years in this country by our governments. And whether you think it's on purpose or they were just inept and idiots, that's down to you to decide. But it looks like a controlled plan to flood this country and destabilise this country. Now, Labour in the early 2000s openly admitted that they opened up the floodgates and went searching foreign lands for cheap workers.
Which does have an economical impact on...
So that has an economical impact, and it also angers your so-called white van man and your native Brits. The fact that at certain points in the last 20 years, it's been hard to get a job because you're being undercut by foreign workers, Mark. Yeah. So you can see how if someone was to do it on purpose, they're going, right, this is going to wind them up, this is going to get them angry, this is going to cause crime in that area. You can see how people think that it is on purpose.
Who do you want to see in power?
Look, I just want change for now. And Labour and the Conservatives, they're basically together. They're called the Uni Party. It's the same old thing that we've had for 20-odd years, decades. And the last 20 years have been an indication that it's not working and that there needs to be change. You look at the polls at the minute, Reform are absolutely storming the polls. If there was an election tomorrow, Nigel Farage would be our Prime Minister. Now, Nigel, I've known Nigel for a few years, spoke to him on many times. He's not a racist, not a fascist. He's got strong views on immigration. And as I said, maybe rightly so for what we've covered in this. But
can you trust him, though? I saw something on Instagram yesterday where Keir Starmer said before getting into power, he'd never raised the council tax bill, and it's going up 5% next year.
Who, Keir Starmer?
Yeah.
I don't trust... Look...
That's what I'm saying. So Nigel might say something now, but when he gets in it,
So people have got to realise, and I say this to a lot of the MPs that I know, no government is your friend. No government. So me thinking, Reform are going to get in, they all know me, they're going to be my friend. No government is your friend. Government is there to rule, and they will look after themselves. But the lies you've seen from Keir Starmer, pre what they said the election, and to what they've done, it should be illegal because they've gone back on everything they have said. And a lot of the things that they said they wouldn't do, they are doing. And I mean, this digital ID.
Is Adam Brooks getting a digital ID?
What?
Is Adam Brooks going to get a digital ID?
No, Adam Brooks is not going to get a digital ID. At the end of the day, a digital ID, if you look at China, is a control mechanism for your government to turn you on and off when they want to. So Adam Brooks going to Epping to protest. Right, we're not having that next week. We'll switch off his bank card. That can't work.
Is there enough backbone left in Great Britain, though, Adam? Is there enough backbone left where we say no?
Probably not.
And that's the worry.
We're too polite. But again,
that's the worry, though, isn't it, Adam? You're standing there going, you won't. People go behind you.
I will, but
no, but you're saying you won't. The people behind you say they won't, but they really won't. They really will.
Look, we see during COVID that governments and our media can manipulate the narrative so it makes you think, shit, I've got to do that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? If I don't do that, something even worse will happen. Mm-hmm. And listen, governments have been using agencies. I was monitored during COVID because I was pushing back on the restrictions. I had government agencies monitoring me. What does that say? How sinister our governments can be, you know? So, look, will things drastically change under reform? I think you're going to see a lot lower taxes going forward under reform.
Is that over a period of time and they jump them back up?
No, I don't know. But I think initially they're going to come in, they'll build more houses, they'll cut taxes, they will cut immigration, and not in a racist way like people are trying to say. They will try and improve the NHS, and they're not trying to privatise the NHS like a lot of the lefties are trying to lie that Nigel has said that. No, he hasn't. I think, look, if we get reform in 3 years, let's say it's 3 years, we'll see a change, but it's not going to mean that our lives are suddenly going to be made amazing.
So me being completely uneducated from the political standpoint, we are stuck with this guy for the next 3 years.
Yeah, unless something catastrophic happens within their government. Like mass defections to a lot of the Labour Party are so-called far left, could defect to maybe Jeremy Corbyn's new party. But it would take a hell of a lot to go.
So do petitions not mean fuck all then?
Petitions, I tell you
we
what.
We've got 5 million or so for him to come out of office, but that went to Parliament and nothing happened.
Yeah, I'm sceptical of petitions, but what petitions can be used for now is like, I think 2.8 million have signed against digital ID. Suddenly I know, because I know advisors, that are in and around Downing Street thinking there's going to be a mass uprising against this. If 2.7 million can sign a petition within 48 hours, that means that there could be 6 or 7 or 8 million that are actively against it angrily, because not everyone signs petitions. Yeah. So it could be a massive problem for the government. I think they know. I think they're going to U-turn on that, right? But then if he U-turns on it, he'd probably be deposed as leader because he's showing no strength. But for me, this country is being mocked around the world, Marc.
And how do you feel about someone like Tony Blair, who's at the forefront of why we've got here? Apparently, his son is going to be given billions to make an ID.
That's been debunked, I think, about the son's link to that. But we've also had a company called Palantir, I think it's called, the CEO of a company that was rumoured to get the contract to do digital IDs. And the CEO gave an interview in the Times saying, it's not a democratic decision. We will not be getting involved. We do not believe the country wants that. So for a huge multinational company, a CEO to say that's undemocratic, it wasn't in their manifesto, we won't be getting involved, that would have sent shockwaves through the government. Right? So look, Tony Blair, for me, set this country on a death spiral in the early 2000s. And a lot of the trouble we've seen Middle East and back at home is because of Tony Blair. So, you know, I will speak to people that are actively upset about what's happening in Gaza. And look, rightfully so, people are dying, you know, and I'm upset for my Jewish friends as well. It's a horrible situation that I think is upsetting for all sides. But the rumour of Tony Blair being involved in some temporary government to stabilise Gaza and Palestine and all like that should send shockwaves through both the left and the right. And Tony Blair is hated from left wing, right wing, and in the centre. For me, he's an evil guy for a lot of things that is caused this country and around the world. He's not a nice guy.
Okay, well, like I said, Adam, we could probably talk for another 3 hours, but I know you've got to get on. Keep doing what you're doing in a positive way. I think you need to understand that you've gone up in terms of awareness and, you know, your branding as you are. Be true to who you are. Keep it as black and white as you can, because people will twist it. And, you know,
I'm going to ask you one quick question.
go.
So with Set A, I've come to this gym for the last 3 years or whatever. Do you think I'm racist, Mark?
No. But I can understand why other people would.
Right.
Because I would never shake Tommy Robinson's hand. I'd move my hand out the way. If he put his hand out to me, I wouldn't shake it. We're men, we're civil people, but I wouldn't have shook it. And if it happened the way you said it happened, like I wasn't supposed to do it, and he just shook my hand, you don't want to be rude on national TV. I know you're a stand-up man as well.
And as I said,
but I think after you should have said that was sprung on me. I understand most of the stuff this guy says, but I don't agree with the other stuff that he says. Just to separate yourself from him.
When I go on telly, and there's some very extreme MPs on the left as well. I'm courteous. I listen. I debate. I argue. I shake their hand, and it's finished. Right. So
Okay.
we need
That's
to
fair.
look, we need
That's
to.
fair.
Sometimes we don't always agree with what people say. We can agree with a lot of what they say and not other things on both left and on both right. And that's where, you know.
That's a good point. I like that.
And if suddenly I'm rude or I'm hostile, does that not negate my push for everyone to try and listen to each other?
I think the only way I can compare it to, which isn't a real comparison, but Wayne Bridge, you know, that massive moment when John Terry's walking down, he's got to shake his hand, he just ignored him. And I think that's what I'd do to someone. That's just me. That's just me. And that's not saying you're wrong.
Yeah.
I'm saying for me, I'd be like, I'd give him a nod. That's probably about it, because, you know, he's changed his... I'm not getting into him because I'm not giving that energy, but I know you.
Yeah.
And that's why I'm saying it. So
Yeah.
I hope
So
you appreciate
I would
that.
like that. So people that are out there is, you wouldn't would you have me in the gym if I was racist? What would you say to me?
No, definitely not.
Right.
I don't think you're racist.
Yeah. No,
But
that's
all I'm
good.
saying is...
or hateful.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm hateful?
I don't think you're hateful, but I think your words can...
Be misstrued
and
from people that are
impact
not
hate. Yeah, and
that
it
are
can
not
impact.
educated enough to understand why I'm saying it.
That's correct.
And that's maybe why we need more information out there, so more people are informed.
Yes, absolutely. I think that's fair.
Perfect. Thank
I will
you.
shake your hand, Adam. That's
Cheers,
fine.
mate. Thank
So
you.
there you have it. Adam Brooks here. Very, very interesting outlook on things that are happening in today's world. I very much appreciate you being open and honest as you've been. This is one that I will never forget. Thanks very much.